Hey guys, before I start with today's topic, I just want to say that I'm going to try to put together a Q&A video. So leave your questions in the comments of this video, and if we get enough questions, then I'll make the video and you can ask them about literally anything, basketball, content creator stuff, anything else. So yeah, go ahead. Now on to the topic at hand. The NBA salary cap has always irked me, specifically in this second apron era where we see so many teams making so many moves and having to move so many different players to stay as far away from the second apron as possible. And I'd say the reason it really bothers me is because, simply put, it kind of penalizes good team building. And I think the best example you could give for that is the last two NBA champions, the Thunder and the Celtics. We'll start with the Celtics, who, they didn't throw a bunch of money at a few free agents like the famous Heatles did in the 2010s. They didn't throw 5 first-round picks at a team to trade for their superstar. No, they built pretty organically. Like, they had their 2 pillars that they drafted in Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, and then surrounding those guys was just players who they got from really smart, shrewd trades. Again, no blockbuster deals of like 5 draft picks of any kind, but like whether it was Horford, Porzingis, Holiday, or White, like all those trades were just nice, quote-unquote normal deals that any team could have made. Like, any other team could have made those deals. They weren't, the most, like, there wasn't any real controversy surrounding those trades. Nobody was like, oh my God, like the Celtics just fleeced these teams. Like, there wasn't like a mass hysteria about it. And you could argue that like there was a lot of risk, or like it wasn't like overwhelmingly in favor of those trades for a lot of them. I remember, to get Porzingis, they had to give up Marcus Smart, and that was certainly a whole, came with a lot of emotions of trading the guy who had been with the Celtics his whole career. To get Drew Holiday, I remember I didn't really like that trade at the time because I felt it was sort of redundant to get a point guard who wasn't really like a traditional floor general, because I thought that's what the Celtics needed, and I thought they were going to need Robert Williams because Horford was old and Porzingis was still injured, and now obviously I still feel very stupid about that. And even Derek White, I remember the time when they got him, he obviously wasn't so known at all in San Antonio, but I also remember people being like, oh, like the Celtics gave up like an unprotected first. That could be like really valuable, really risky, whatever. So like the Celtics make all these shrewd moves for guys who are like, again, any team could have had, and they make these moves and it pays off in the best way. They win a championship and then they lose the next year. Now all of a sudden they have to break the team up. Now look, in the Celtics case, you can make the argument that they might have broken up just because Tatum's Achilles tear sort of warped their timeline and they don't want to be in the second apron if they're not going to be competing. That's whole. But like even before Tatum tore his Achilles, there were talks of like, oh, like the Celtics like probably going to have to like trade 1 or 2 of these guys. And so like it's just so like it just bothers me that the idea of like the Celtics are like, and again, I hate defending the Celtics as a Knicks fan, but like that's how you should want teams to be built, right? Like draft your pillars and then make smart, quote unquote subtle trades around them and like build this team to the point where they can win the championship. And then to have to blow that up because of the second apron just feels ridiculous. And it's on an even worse level with the Thunder, who, as we all know, like their problem that they're probably going to face is just that they've drafted too well, which is ridiculous. Like max contracts for Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, but then you also factor in like Aaron Wiggins and then Kason Wallace, like Lou Dort. Like it's just like, again, like similar to the Celtics, like that's how you should want your team to be built, through the draft, which I think requires, if there are 3 pillars to build a team, which is draft, trade, and free agency, I would say free agency is the easiest because you're talking about going after established talent, then trades because you still have to give up stuff to get the established talent, and then draft, I think, is the hardest way to build a team because there's so much unknown and it takes so much time and development. And so if a team is able to build a championship team, which the Thunder are, through the draft, like shouldn't that be rewarded in some sense? Like they drafted too well, and again, like they find like these diamonds in the rough. Like they technically traded for Kason Wallace. Lou Dort was undrafted, but like they found those guys, and now they're getting penalized, or they might get penalized in a year or two for drafting too well, for finding too many good players. Like that just sounds so counterintuitive. And so what I'm suggesting is a bit harder to do for trades because it's I don't know how you would determine which trades fall under this jurisdiction and which don't, but like certainly for drafting there should definitely be something in the salary cap where like if you draft a guy, like his salary only counts for 40 or 50% of the salary cap, right? Again, harder to do for trades because like how do you determine which trades fall into that category versus not? But like I think we should be rewarding the ways that we want our teams to be built, the organic ways. Now, the problem with that is that I don't think Adam Silver particularly wants or cares if teams are built in an organic way. In fact, I think he'd argue the opposite. I think he loves, the free agency talks, the trade talks. I feel like that's what fuels so much of NBA conversation nowadays on social media, on these shows. That's like such a big part, and Adam Silver is certainly playing into that with, so many of the decisions he's made and the way the game is just being, talked about over the last few years. So I don't think he particularly cares, but just like for me, as someone who loves the game of basketball itself and who likes to see teams build from the ground up, because again, don't get me wrong, a championship is a championship no matter if it's built through the draft or free agency, but like there is something more rewarding. Like there just is, if you can draft these guys and have them lead you to a championship. Like a championship is just like, there's a baseline level of happiness and joy you get with the championship, but there's an added level to it when you can draft a Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and go through the struggles with those guys and then ultimately come out on top. Same thing with OKC and drafting those guys. So like it would, so as someone who likes basketball, like I want to see those teams rewarded. I also want to see continuity. I want to see these teams grow together. Like one of the reasons I love Steph and Draymond is because they played together for so long and they just know how to play off each other so well, and it's so easy for them and the chemistry is there. And like I want to see more of that. But if we're just going to be in this second apron era where like the teams who build good teams are good, but then they all of a sudden become too good, and then you have to trade, like it's just like, don't get me wrong, I like parity and I do like seeing guys move around, but like not like this, not when it feels like just sort of like gross. And again, like we're penalizing teams for being too good at building rosters, and that just feels wrong to me. Like I said at the top, don't forget to leave your questions in the comments, and again, if I get enough of them, I will do a Q&A video. And also please like, share, subscribe, all the good metrics.